Hey everybody, welcome back to the Serving Pleasure Podcast.
Exotic Erotic.
With your hosts,
Wesley Corpola.
and Bailey Schultz.
Orientalism is a way of seeing that imagines, emphasizes, exaggerates, and distorts differences of African, Arab, and East Asian peoples and cultures as compared to that of the West.
It often involves seeing cultures as exotic, over-sexualized, backwards, uncivilized, and at times, dangerous.
All right, hello. I'm Wesley Corpola.
And I'm Bailey Schultz.
All right, and welcome to the first episode of, what's the podcast name again?
Oh, exotic erotic?
Serving Pleasure Podcast, Exotic Erotic, Episode 1, The Betrayal. We're going to name our episodes. We're doing it a little differently. So the book that we're reading is Captured by a Sheikh by Jacqueline Diamond.
Jacqueline Diamond.
Would you like to read just about the author portion?
Oh, certainly. About the author. A former news reporter, Jacqueline Diamond, has covered the police beat in several cities of Orange County, California, where this book is set. The author of more than 25 Harlequin romances. She's married and has 2 sons.
Insightful information. I can't wait to see how her life is reflected in this book.
It's a mother's perspective. I'm excited about that too.
All right. Well, we flipped through the first few pages to figure out where to start, and turns out that there's a map provided of the surroundings. It's the town's not even provided in the map. It's just called Southern California, even though it's a city.
Yeah, I'm sure. But a few of the choice locations are Houlihan's law office,
the mall, the church. There's only one.
Trevor's house,
the salon.
And then there's a motel, the Anaheim Motel. I'm excited to see what happens there.
I can't wait for us to get to cabin. Not even the cabin.
No, it's just
There's
cabin.
other cabins.
It's,
this one's just named cabin.
You know it, yeah.
It's the cabin. And it's right along the Pacific Ocean. So hopefully there'll be a beach scene, walking along the shore, holding hands. While something
banging in the sand.
Yeah, something racist is said at the same time.
Well, yeah.
Because that's kind of what our podcast is really about with our erotic fiction, is really exploring the prevalence of racist ideas and characters in erotic fiction. Yeah. So there's a cast of characters provided as well with brief descriptions, as if this is like a play. It's not.
She's just begging someone to write a play adaptation.
She's not willing to do it herself.
But she wants to give someone the tools that they need just to make it easier on them.
You know, and she's like, I'm not going to put in the full effort, but yeah, if someone has the desire... I like how she's already believing that this book is like good enough to be adapted to the stage.
I just think that it's either that or she just knows her book is confusing enough that someone's going to need to keep flipping back to see who's who.
Even though there's a total of 8 characters.
Yeah, are these just the main characters or are these all the characters?
All the characters provided. Maybe this is the beginning of the racist ideas, because maybe she's assuming that people won't be able to recognize. They're like, that name's foreign.
Yeah, they all look the same. All these who's who?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell Yusuf between Zahad. I just don't know the difference. So these people have to flip back.
So each character has a little description.
Yeah.
So our who am I assuming our heroine is Holly Rivers. She's a dead ringer for her missing sister. Blood may be thicker than water, and so may deception.
Oh.
That's interesting.
All right, and then the Sheikh, I presume, is Sheikh Sharif Al-Khalil. He doesn't hesitate to take what he believes he's entitled to by whatever means necessary.
Wow. Okay, already some
I feel like he's going to be a protagonist.
already some
I feel
rapey attributes given to this male lead of color. That's nice. Then we have Jasmine, quote, Jazz Rivers. She took the Sheikh's money to have his baby, then disappeared. Is she an extortionist or a murder victim? So this is of course Holly's sister, who she's a dead ringer for.
That was overly vague to the point that I really don't understand her character.
I don't know if she's really gonna be in it that much though, because I think it's mainly about.
I hope she is.
So
I hope her ghost is in this.
So honestly, we already know that this Sheikh is gonna have sex with sisters, which is uncomfortable. Anyway.
He doesn't hesitate to take what he's entitled to. And I left out the what he believes he's entitled to, because I'm already of the mindset that he is entitled to it.
You're in character. You're getting ready.
The next character is Zahad Adran. Dispossessed of his own inheritance, the Sheikh's trusted aide might be looking to replace it with someone else's.
Oh.
Here's the plot. And then there's Tever Samuelson.
Wait, I think that's a typo because here it says Trevor's house.
Ooh! Well,
Our first typo.
Oh, Jacqueline. Tever, in quotations, Trevor. Maybe Trevor is Tever's nickname. They added a letter and now it's
longer. But...
Tever Samuelson. I've never heard that last name before either. Attorney, old friend, and would-be bridegroom. He invites trust. But does he merit it?
Oh.
Question mark?
All right, then we got Noreen Wheaton, who is director of a surrogacy clinic. She's been known to tamper with client files. So far, Noreen's my favorite character. Does client files at a surrogacy clinic? What are the stakes? Like those seem like high stakes to me.
I feel like she's been known to tamper with client files. I believe that's like it's almost like a hobby for her. That's like, kind of the impression I get. Like
that's in her like OkCupid profiles. That's one of her interests.
She gets bored at work
her
and
hobbies.
She's like, okay, I'm just gonna mess with these files.
You're brunette now.
That'll make all the difference. All right, then we have Manuel. I'm gonna call him Manuel. Estrellas. We have a Hispanic character in this?
We'll find out.
I'm sure he'll explicitly say what his heritage is.
Oh, yeah.
I am
They'll
Puerto
ask him
Rican.
where he's from.
No, that's how he greets everyone.
Hi, I'm from Puerto Rico. My name's Manuel.
Manuel Estrellas. He risked his job and his life to tell Holly the truth of baby Ben's parentage. Does he have a hidden agenda?
God, you guys, we're not even in the book yet.
I'm gonna predict no.
No. He's just a good guy.
He has a kind soul.
Okay.
And Yusuf Gozan. Is there only three female characters to these 5?
I have a feeling that Holly's gonna be a pretty big presence, though.
I feel like Noreen, despite the shortest description.
I'm hoping.
And then Yusuf Gozin, he's sworn. Is Gozin like a play on words? It's like goes in.
Or is it?
Or is that just my wishful thinking?
It's just Gozen.
Gozen. Yeah, it could be. But
he has yoga classes.
Gozen.
Gozen. Oh wow! I really hope that you're right.
Yusuf Gozin goes in.
Ooh.
He sworn revenge on Sharif for the slaying of his despotic brother. His despotic brother, Like, that's a pretty negative description.
Like,
but he's willing to accept it. You killed my despotic brother! Do his targets include the Sheikh's son and the woman he loves?
Who we aren't sure yet is which sister. We don't know who that's referring to.
It could even be Noreen.
It could be Noreen, or a character that didn't quite make the list.
Because I'm willing to bet that she left some characters off.
Tever.
Maybe she left Trevor off. Maybe there's a Tever
Okay,
and a
yeah,
Trevor.
let's be, like, we don't know.
Open-minded.
Yeah.
Let's stay open-minded. All right.
Just because it's strange and different doesn't mean it's wrong.
I feel like that's kind of the...
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you see what I did?
Yeah, I did. How smart. All right. So, I'm going to read the prologue. And then we're just going to be reading... Bailey's going to be reading the female characters, and I'm going to be playing the male characters.
As it should be.
Mm-hmm. We played a gender norm here. We're not open-minded. All right, so the prologue. October. Bahrim City, Al-Qadar in southern Arabia. The surrogate mother was gone, and with her, the baby due to be born in a few weeks. Furious on hearing the news, Sheikh Sharir Al-Khalil clenched his fists. The police in California, will they not help? Zahad Adran, the Sheikh's cousin, aide and chief of security at the palace, spread his hand in frustration. They have found no signs of foul play, so there is no criminal investigation. Straightforward. There's no criminal investigation. The Sheikh stared at his aide over the papers stacked on his broad desk. The contracts that would bring money for hospitals and schools. I will fly to America at once. I must find my son! Beneath his red and white checked... Cafier? I don't know. There's a lot of...
We're going to embarrass ourselves frequently on this.
The traditional headdress of his country. Zahad's sacred face. Scarred. Sorry, I just assumed it was sacred. Zahad's scarred face was wise beyond his years. Cousin, let me deal with this situation. Our people need you now more than ever. The longer we wait, the harder it will be to find her. Sharif could scarcely think beyond the need to retrieve the woman who would bear his child. If you approve, I'll fly to California tomorrow and investigate, Zahad said. The director of the surrogacy clinic, Noreen Wheaton, has promised to cooperate. However, we must remember that the mother has many rights under American law. I wonder if Jacqueline Diamond has any idea what laws are like in Saudi Arabia.
I have a feeling she doesn't. I have a feeling she's taking some liberties.
She's taking a shot in the dark. I'm sure they have laws that oppress mothers.
Women.
Angrily, the Sheikh turned away, mirrored in the glass of an arched window. His eyes glittered with rage. His sharp-featured face hardened by warfare. His was softened only slightly by a short beard and mustache, by the white banded headcloth that fell across the shoulders of his business suit. 9 years ago, while Sharif was away fighting to free this country from a dictator, his wife, Yona, had died in childbirth. He would not risk the life of another woman he loved, but he had done his best to produce an heir. Beyond the window sprawled Bahrim City, the second largest community in the Arabian nation of Al-Qadar. Oh, is Al-Qadar the made-up nation?
I'm just wondering, his wife died in childbirth. Did the child die too if he was unsuccessful at producing an heir?
Let's read on.
Oh, I'm jumping the gun.
Its people depended on him, and he apparently had depended on the wrong woman. She has sold herself already. Perhaps she now intends to raise the price. If we must bribe the girl, so be it, Zahad said. Let us hope it is only money she wants and not custody. Sharif swung back to face his cousin. Although he had read of custody battles when he was a college student in New York, this personal betrayal outraged him. She signed the contract and accepted $150,000, of which the clinic was received only half pending the child's birth, Sahad reminded him. In any case, my friend, we cannot ride in like warriors and take what is ours. Please allow me to handle this matter in your stead. Reluctantly, Sharif yielded. Very well, he said. You will advise me the moment you learn of her whereabouts. I'll join you there if this matter cannot be quickly resolved. Sahad bowed, although no such formalities were necessary between the two men. Of course, he said, and retreated. Sharif reminded himself that his cousin was a capable man. It was, after all, Sahad who had found the Crestline View Clinic in the first place. Southern California was one of the world's few locations that offered high-quality medical facilities, lax laws regarding surrogate parenting, and a population of liberated young women. Even so, it had taken Miss Wheaton many tries to find a surrogate who met the Sheikh's high standards. She has to be blonde. That's kind of
and liberated.
Under 300 pounds. From the top desk drawer, he withdrew a photograph. It was the woman he knew as H.J. Rivers. A character that was not described in the cast.
No, that's Holly, I bet.
Oh, is that Holly?
I'm guessing.
Why didn't it just say Holly?
Because he doesn't maybe know her first name yet.
Her face riveted him, the hazel eyes strikingly intelligent with a heart-shaped face. She had dramatic dark red hair and a gentle mouth that reminded him of Yona.
Wait, it doesn't make sense that it'd be Holly, because Holly's not the one who's the surrogate, I thought. What's her sister's name?
Jazz is Jasmine Jazz Rivers. The accompanying description was spare. Age 25, never married. Miss Rivers works as a manicurist at a beauty salon. At the beauty salon, as listed in the map.
That we know.
It's the only one in the area. And lives with her older sister. She has sung professionally.
That was his high standards, was like a manicurist.
She wishes to help your excellency secure your people's future and plans to use the money to make a demonstration recording to further her singing career. Miss Wheaton's one qualm was that H.J. Rivers had never previously given birth. Sharif, however, preferred that his son have a virtuous mother. A woman who lived an apparently chaste life, sharing quarters with her sister, suited him well.
Just because she's never had a baby. Like,
she's a virgin.
God.
Now he wondered whether anything had been omitted or misrepresented. Above all, why had this beautiful woman disappeared with his soon-to-be-born son? From the desk, he drew the other photograph, the one he had received 4 months ago. A blurry ultrasound image formed the shape of a baby boy, a son who would enrich his father's life and those of their people. Sharif had fallen in love with this child from the moment he saw the picture. How could he bear to lose him? Suddenly, finding it hard to breathe, he threw open the window. Outside the palace, October sunshine baked mud brick houses, and a breeze carried the aromas of coffee, spices, and frankincense. I wonder if Jacqueline Diamond has ever traveled to any Middle Eastern country.
She does know stories from the Bible, though.
And, those are still pretty relevant. I mean, nothing's changed at all. From an open-air marketplace. It was a poor city, although rich in tradition. The entire Arabian nation of Al-Qadar had its share of economic woes. But it was the 50,000 residents of Bahrein City and its environs who concerned Sharif, because they fell under his family's protection. For the first time, prosperity lay within reach. The region's twisted, pale juba trees yielded a silk-like fiber prized for its softness and durability. Recently, the fiber had been synthesized under Sharif's patronage. He owned the patent jointly with chemist Hakim Harry Harun. Why does everyone have nicknames?
Why does he have such a, like a Western nickname, I feel
Hakim
like?
Harry.
Hey, call me Harry.
Just call me Harry. Harry Harun, who was married to Sharif's cousin, Amy. Soon, large-scale production of Juba cloth would fund badly needed public works. Then no man, child, or woman of Bahrein would die as Yona had for a lack of a modern hospital. All was not secure, however. Other regional leaders eyed the project enviously. Also, Sharif had received death threats for his role in overthrowing the late dictator Maimun. We're going to pronounce it Maimun.
Okay.
The future of Bahrein could not rest on his shoulders alone. He needed an heir. The love he felt for his unborn son had been an unexpected bonus. It wasn't necessary.
It was
but
like,
it's a
I have
surprise.
feelings for this child.
Oh, wow, I thought I'd be just completely
Devoid.
emotionless regarding to my son.
What a bonus.
Bonus, I mean, it's whatever. It's nice, it's a positive. The creak of hinges snapped Sharif to attention. Pivoting, he reached for his gun. Yeah.
Jumpy as a cat, aren't you?
His Aunt Salima glided into the room. In her late 60s, she had a strong, watchful face and black hair distinguished by a shock of silver, fanning through a widow's peak. A gold-embroidered crimson dress skimmed her ample figure. I'm guessing this is how he's, like, viewing her.
Yeah, weird. Also, our first character that was not in the character descriptions.
This might be the one time we hear from Aunt Salima. Has Zahad told you what happened? He asked, withdrawing his hand from within his jacket.
Yes, but we must hope for the best.
His aunt whisked aside piles of paper to clear a space on his desktop.
You requested my instruction, and you shall have it.
Aunt Salima, there is no time for such matters! Ignoring his frown, she unrolled a pad, and from her woven shoulder bag, produced a cherubically naked plastic doll.
Well?
She demanded, holding out a thick folded cloth.
You won't learn anything standing over there.
There was no point in fighting the inevitable. With a rueful smile, the Sheikh went to take his first lesson in diapering. Oh, man. Yeah, that's the end of the prologue. Wow,
That's all we need to know.
Kind of silly. Keeping it lighthearted.
It's
Kind of lighthearted.
You're not gonna learn anything if you don't get over here.
I thought when she flew everything off
Yeah,
her
I know.
desk that they were gonna bone right then and there.
I did too. I guess we'll have to wait a little longer
For
some boning. And
for
some incest.
And Shalim to get some.
I doubt she's coming back. I doubt she'll be
Doubt
mentioned
it.
again. Okay. Chapter 1. 3 months later, in Harbor View, California. Where had the baby gotten those dark, piercing eyes? Holly Rivers wondered as she gazed down at the child in her arms. Whoever the father was, if he had eyes like those, he must exert a hypnotic appeal. Little Ben blinked, and the impression of ferocity vanished. When he stretched his tiny arms and yawned, her heart clenched. She had thought she knew what love was, until the first time this baby was placed in her arms. Then she discovered, in a burst of wonder, the true depth of the human heart. Did he have to be such a chunky fellow at 3 months, though? Although her arms were beginning to hurt, Holly hesitated to position him any closer against her for fear of spoiling her antique lace wedding dress. She hoped Alice Frey, her matron of honor and her employer at the Sunshine Lane Salon,
There's a name.
I guess so, would return soon with their flowers. She needed Alice's help to feed Ben before the 4 o'clock ceremony, and they only had half an hour left.
Hey, can I come in?
The question was followed by a belated knock on the partly open door of the church's dressing room. Without waiting for an answer, in marched Trevor Samuelson, her groom. the man she was to marry, for all the kindness and caring he'd shown her over the years, and for the secure home he was offering her and Ben.
Okay, I just want to interrupt. The her groom sentence is the start of another paragraph.
It's the topic sentence of this paragraph.
That is the sentence. Her groom.
Yep.
It could have just been, without waiting for an answer, in marched Trevor Samuelson, comma, her groom.
No. It's a cliffhanger. And you have to get down to the next paragraph.
Why? Oh, it's
her groom. Anyway. Although black and white weren't the most flattering colors for a blonde, blue-eyed man, the tuxedo looked handsome on Trevor. "You look terrific," she said, smiling.
It's not exactly comfortable.
With a wry expression, he tugged on the bow tie. At 48, Trevor, a successful attorney, was 18 years older than Holly and a longtime friend of her late parents. Until recently, she'd thought of him as a kind of uncle. Then, during the past year, his friendly manner had shifted into courtship. At first, she'd kept him at arm's length. But after her pregnant sister Jazz disappeared, Trevor had been her mainstay, offering emotional support and spending his own time and money on the search. It had been a relief to share her burden. So, she owed him.
Oh, you, my hand in marriage.
Just before Christmas, one of Jazz's scruffy musician friends, Griffin Goldbar, had showed up with Ben. Astonished at being handed a baby, Holly hadn't questioned him forcefully, especially after Griff assured her that Jazz would return in a few days. When she didn't, Holly had worried all through Christmas. She'd begun to fear that her sister might not return at all. 2 weeks ago, when Trevor assured her that his love was big enough to include the child, Holly accepted his proposal. Maybe his kisses didn't set her on fire, but she needed him. She was in no shape, financially or emotionally, to raise a child alone. Besides, he made her feel safe and cherished. His eagerness had persuaded her not to delay the wedding. Fortunately, she had already had her mother's wedding gown.
Did I mention how stunning you look?
Trevor brushed his thumb across the wing of dark red hair that fell to her collar.
Honey, I'm just bursting with pride. I can't wait to see you walk down the aisle.
She blushed. How many of the guests arrived? Holly's parents were dead, and she had no other close family. Neither did Trevor, whose childless first marriage had ended in divorce 5 years ago.
So are they expecting
No
anyone
one.
to come? I was just hoping it would just be she
Holly's
blushed how many of the guests arrived, and then
Holly's parents were dead.
Oh.
The guests included her co-workers and some of Trevor's colleagues. Many couldn't attend, however, because courts were in session. The wedding had been scheduled on the salon's afternoon off, a Monday, which was also one of the few days the church had been available.
They're straggling in.
The crease deepened in his cheek.
I'm nervous. Can you believe that? It's not as if I've never done this before, but it feels like the first time.
For me too, Trev, teased Holly, and startled a laugh from her fiancé.
Ah!
This is bad luck, by the way.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that will be, like, a plot device.
Yeah, I'm sure. He looped his arm around her and Ben and angled for a kiss. At that moment, an armful of flowers swept through the door and a penetrating female voice rapped out, "Don't you know it's bad luck for the groom to see the bride before the ceremony? Out! Out!"
Yes, ma'am.
With a sigh, Trevor executed a mock bow in Alice's direction and withdrew. "How's our darling?" Alice asked, placing her bouquet on the conference table. "He said he's nervous." "I don't mean Trevor, I mean the baby!" Alice clucked at Ben, who cooed back at her. My goodness, I feel as if you're my little grandbaby. I wish my son would get married, but it's beginning to look less and less like he ever will. This may be the only grandchild I ever have, and I don't want to lose him just because you're getting married. Don't worry, Alice. You're as close to Ben as any grandmother could be. Holly meant every word. The short salon owner, who at 50 fought a never-ending battle against gray hair and a thickening waistline, had adored Ben from the first moment she saw him. When Holly's finances were strained by the search for her sister, the salon owner had even offered to let the two move into her small house. Thanks to Trevor, however, that wouldn't be necessary. "You know I like jazz," said Alice, who had put up patiently with the aspiring singer's occasional absences from her manicure duties. "But if she doesn't care enough about this baby to come and get him, she's an idiot." "If only she told me who the father is," Holly said. Maybe he knows where she went." "Yes, well, it's your wedding day, Holly Jeanette Rivers Almost Samuelson, so let's forget jazz for once." Lifting a circlet of flowers, Alice placed it expertly atop Holly's thick hair. Expertly placed. A gauzy veil turned the world blurry until the salon owner tipped it upward. "It's hinged, thank goodness, so you don't have to stumble around until your final march." "You make that sound like the March of Doom." Yielding her nephew to Alice, Holly picked up her bouquet. The tightly bound flowers had a light, refreshing smell. "Oh, I like Trevor," said her friend. "I just think he's too old for you, and too much like a familiar pair of shoes. Where's your romantic spirit? Don't you want to meet someone exciting?" "Apparently my sister met someone exciting, and a lot of good it did her," Holly rejoined. "Oh, Alice, I miss her so much. What if something bad's happened to her? She's so talented, so intense, and so unreliable," her employer pointed out as she retrieved a bottle of formula from the diaper bag. "Any day now she'll breeze back as if she'd never been away." "I hope so." The older woman settled onto a chair and positioned the baby for feeding. "Why don't you get a breath of fresh air? Just make sure Trevor isn't lurking around stealing glances at his bride." "I think that's romantic," Holly returned. "He loves me, Alice. He may be an old friend, but he's got all the qualities of an ideal husband." "Rich, handsome, and boring," her friend sniffed.
Ooh, zing!
Suddenly, Holly did need a breath of fresh air. Anyway, it was obvious her friend wanted to be alone with the baby. "I'll be right back," she said, and went out through a short hallway into the courtyard. It separated the Sunday school building, which housed her dressing room, and from the Spanish-style stucco chapel. The air was January crisp, with thin sunshine straggling through the clouds. Last night's drizzle had darkened the high stucco wall that blocked her view of the street. In back, an alley separated the chapel courtyard from a vacant lot filled with wildflowers. In the courtyard, the flowers were more refined. Rose-colored camellias, pale pink azaleas, and white calla lilies. Still, the predominant fragrance was wet earth. As usual when she was alone, Holly's thoughts returned to her sister. People said the two of them looked alike, but she knew better. Jazz was more dramatic in every way. 2 inches taller, with brighter red hair, darker brown eyes, and a more vivacious manner.
2 inches taller? How dramatic.
She's
what a drama queen.
So dramatic.
She's 2 inches taller.
What a bitch. Abruptly, she realized she was being watched. Startled, she stared at the man standing across the alley. Where had he come from? The fact that she hadn't seen or heard him approach gave her a creepy sensation. He stood motionless, regarding her the way a cat watches its prey. Tall and dark, with a short beard and mustache, he had a muscular build beneath his sweatshirt and jeans. He wore a California Angels baseball cap turned backwards. How does she know? The most striking thing about the man was the intensity of the eyes. They burned at her from his chiseled face, disturbing her with their open expression of dislike. Annoyed, Holly reached up and lowered her veil. Not a twitch of the stranger's lips betrayed a reaction. She hurried inside, but an impression of alert tension stayed with her, and of fierce eyes that seemed oddly familiar.
"You are certain it is she?"
asked Zahad. To Sharif, the turtleneck sweater and cap gave his cousin a collegiate air.
"She covered her face when she saw me. But yes,
the Sheikh replied.
I am certain.
The resemblance to the photograph of H.J. Rivers was unmistakable. The two men sat in the front seat of a rented sedan next to a small shopping center on the far side of the vacant lot. Through binoculars, they had been watching the churchyard for more than an hour. Although, following Zahad's advice, the Sheikh was dressed in casual American fashion, something about him had distressed Holly Rivers. He should not have stared so hard, he supposed, but he had wanted to see her face clearly. How innocent she looked, and how lovely, her youth and vivid coloring flattered by the ivory gown. He knew her true nature, however. She had stolen his money, and now she was trying to steal his child.
They are all snakes.
He muttered.
And all those people at the clinic.
Beside him, Zahad nodded.
I am sorry I steered you to that palace. It received many recommendations on the internet, so I trusted Miss Wheaton. But she has deceived us. I am only glad we had not yet paid her the full amount.
A month ago, the clinic owner had stopped returning Zahad's phone calls. When he finally reached her, she had nervously declared that there were some unforeseen complications, but that they could be handled. Any precipitous action might create legal problems, she had said. With his usual thoroughness, the aide had checked recent legal recordings concerning H.J. Rivers. That was how he'd learned that Holly Jeanette Rivers had taken out a marriage license with Trevor Samuelson, an attorney. Amy Haroun, who had grown up as more of a sister to Sharif than a cousin, had surmised that Holly Rivers must have decided to keep the baby. A poor manicurist couldn't afford a legal battle, but marriage to an attorney would guarantee her an inside track. No doubt the older man had been bedazzled by this manipulative young woman. Zahad had flown to America at once. Sharif, who'd arrived yesterday, didn't know the full extent of his aide's preparations, but there was a safe house, and this car had been rented through a business subsidiary. Zahad also stashed a backup vehicle somewhere. They had brought no weapons, at the Sheikh's orders. He didn't want to risk being arrested with a gun. The plan was to snatch his son and fly him back to Al-Qadar, using any of several sets of tickets purchased from different airlines. Then let Holly Jeanette Rivers twist and scheme as she might. American custody orders were not recognized in his country. It had not been easy to catch Ms. Rivers alone with the baby, however. That short woman, who must be her older sister, seemed to be with her whenever the fiancé was absent. But they had to make their move soon. The Rivers woman had seen him. Even if she didn't already suspect Sharif's identity, any further sightings of him would raise the alarm. Adrenaline surged through him. Despite the gravity of the situation, this was the moment when he felt most alive, on the verge of action.
Let us take our positions,
said Zahad. The Sheikh nodded. His palms itched and sheer energy pumped through his arteries. To strike at last, after so much delay, would be a pleasure. Inside her dressing room, Holly found the baby watching wide-eyed as Alice mopped a white, milky stain from the shoulder of her blue dress. The receiving blanket slipped while I was burping him. What a mess!
Oh.
I'll take him. After pushing up her veil, Holly reached for the warm bundle. You go put some soap and water on it. How could I be so clumsy?
No.
Fussed her friend as she hurried away. In Holly's arms, Ben yawned, ready for a nap. She decided to go in search of Marta Vasquez. The salon's other manicurist, who had volunteered to hold the baby during the ceremony. When she stepped through the outer door, a sharp breeze tugged at her veil. With her bouquet tucked in the crook of her arm and Ben in the other, she didn't have a hand free to steady the veil. She forgot about the wind, however, when the baby gurgled happily. Holly beamed down at his small pink face. A scuffing noise, very close, startled her into looking up. It was the dark-haired man. Right there, towering over her, so close she could see the hard purpose in his face. What do you want? The words came out in a whisper. What do you want? She hadn't realized anyone was present until, from the other side, a pair of hands seized Ben. The second attacker frightened her even more. His marked face and cold expression were terrifying.
Gasp.
Things were happening too fast. It took forever to reach out for little Ben, and when she did, he had already been snatched out of reach. She tried to scream for help, but her throat clamped down. Where was everybody? Why didn't Trevor come? What did these men want with her baby? They turned to flee. With a sob, Holly leaped after them. End of chapter 1.
Oh, wow. Well, Jacqueline Diamond really jumped to the whole captured by a sheep part.
Yeah.
Right away.
I didn't realize. I thought that she would be captured by a sheik. I had no idea it was the baby that was being captured.
I thought Sharif was going to be captured by a sheik. I thought there was another sheik involved.
I thought it was going to be more West Side Story kind of deal. Lots of snapping and definitely a turf war.
Well, what do you think of the prologue? Was it needed?
I don't think it was. I think that she could have revealed. I think it would have been more effective for the baby to be stolen by these individuals without us knowing why necessarily first. I think that might have been more interesting.
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell right now if that provided any information that it
won't be later.
Listed again. If anything, it served the purpose of just establishing that the Sheikh is in fact foreign. He's from the other. He's part of the Oriental in quotation marks. Every time that we say Oriental, we're doing quotation marks.
Yes.
Because that's a very offensive term.
We don't use it.
We don't use it. Wouldn't be surprised if at some point Jacqueline Diamond does.
I'm surprised it hasn't. I'm sure she'll say something about it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure eventually. It would just be like an offhand remark, like the Sheikh returned to the Orient or something like that.
Yikes.
So, yeah, at that point, I think it's just really, the prologue was just kind of setting up the racist part of this book.
And I think maybe Jacqueline was worried about just having a stranger steal a baby. Maybe she was worried about the reader being turned off from that. So she wanted the reader to know, hey, it's the father.
Yeah, she doesn't want to isolate those people that have had
their babies
stolen.
Captured.
That's a coveted market.
That's that's actually the primary market that she's aiming for, perhaps.
With this exotic erotic.
Yeah, because she wants them to know that they're not alone, but also that this baby will be fine.
Oh, yeah. Chapter 1, I thought it kind of meandered.
Yeah.
It really just kind of forced those characters in.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Trevor. Not my favorite.
Trevor! That's the cast of characters.
That's literally...
The first time that Trevor is mentioned.
She typed it, did not look at it again after typing it.
Shame on you, Jacqueline Diamond!
I'm not making a good first impression. I won't forget Trevor. Maybe Trevor has a brother named Trevor who's a bigger character than him.
Going back to it, Trevor Samuelson, attorney, old friend, and would-be bridegroom.
Okay.
He invites trust, but does he have the merit for it?
Oh, okay. So maybe I'm interested to see Trevor's character develop.
Yeah, his story arc.
Yeah.
Really interested to see how all of these characters, especially all these new people that weren't in the cast of characters, that were just
already
kind of thrown out.
much more.
Yeah, thrown out randomly. But I won't be able to keep track of them.
Oh no, the voices will change. Without doubt.
Good luck. If you want to tell us we're using the wrong voice for a character, please do so. Mm-hmm. It won't change the fact that we're not going to be consistent.
Yeah, no. But we will listen to your... We'll judge you for paying that close attention.
We'll read what you say, and we'll politely ignore it.
Yeah. Probably make jokes about it, too.
Yeah, we'll probably call you out on this podcast.
Yeah, and then, deliberately say that to you personally.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think this has been a successful... first podcast. I think this has been kind of a longer one, but that's because we also had a prologue and we were kind of introducing the show. So
deal with it.
Yeah, deal with this. This is an anomaly until I guess final because there's an epilogue as well. I flipped through and saw the epilogue.
We don't know how long some of these chapters get to, so just suck it up, baby.
Can't imagine they're that long. Sexy sex. All right. Well, it has been my pleasure.
That's a high five.
Yeah. It's been my pleasure to host our first episode with you, Bales.
Me too, Wes.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.